Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Welcome to our fourth episode of our Maintaining Adaptive Capacity series. My name is Shane McNally, marketing specialist here at R3 Continuum, and joining us today is also from R3 Continuum is our Vice President of Clinical Crisis Response, Jeff Gorder. Thank you for being with us today. In today's episode, we'll be discussing compassion fatigue and how it can impact leaders' ability to effectively lead and support their employees. So let's get started. And Jeff, what is compassion fatigue?
Well, thank you, Shane. And that compassion fatigue is an interesting concept, and one that is often described in healthcare settings and in situations where you are an individual is based on their professional status, based on their job, their duties. They are pouring themselves out on behalf of others who are in need. And so now that makes sense, again, if we think about nurses, doctors, if we think about healthcare workers in supported facilities and things of that nature. But it's not as immediately well known that for business leaders, the same concept happens. Quite frankly, any business leader that is effective as a leader, that is engaged with their workforce, that is connected with their teams, understands and experiences to a certain degree the emotional challenges that their teams are going through. And particularly in the context now of this protracted pandemic that we have all been going through, the stress, the strain, anger, the grief experienced by so many employees will often fall squarely on the shoulders of an executive who has a high IQ, an emotional intelligence quotient, in which they are connected with and they understand the emotional experience of their workforce. And so in order to be effective at walking alongside my employees, it requires me to be able to identify and to clearly experience what they're going through in order to be able to connect with it, to understand it. And so it's true that all of us as a nation, again, as a globe, have all been faced with an incredibly unusual set of emotional experiences. For so many of us, this period of time has been incredibly difficult. Many of us have lost loved ones or have been sick ourselves and are still in a state of recovery. Many of us have found the financial challenges, even the social challenges that I can't see an elderly loved one to the same degree that I used to, that the ability to connect with my support network, my friends and family that normally kept me buoyant during all of this, that all of that emotional residue has built up and it has created additional challenges. So balancing both the personal and professional needs is a challenge for all of us, but particularly for, again, an emotionally intelligent executive who cares about how their workforce is doing and is connected with and engaged at that level. Because the reality is, despite all our best efforts, we don't know yet at this stage, as of the time of this taping, what the end outcome is going to be. We don't know how long COVID-19 will remain the central factor that we have to deal with in our lives, both business and professionally. We know it's going to continue for the foreseeable future. And therefore, the strain that executives feel as a result of that is going to continue.
Yeah, most definitely. It's just kind of it's a crazy thought to think, we don't know what's going to happen and how long it could be around. So what would be some identifiers that a leader is experiencing compassion fatigue?
Yeah. So one of the key markers is, and again, this is human nature. It's not a a failing or a fact that I'm doing it wrong. It's just simply that it's human nature that when faced with an emotional situation that I am unable to necessarily change, solve, fix, make go away, that it leads again to the physical fatigue that comes with that, because you're just simply drained from trying to push a rock uphill that doesn't seem to be making progress. But one thing that's a key identifier, and that would be a suggestion that more needs to be done, is if the leader begins to turn that frustration into blame towards those who are experiencing challenges. So again, it can become a kind of reverse situation where it's like, well, why did you do that anyway? Why did you make that decision? Why did you go there? Why did you do this? How come you put yourself at risk? And you begin to blame the victim. You begin to have resentment towards those that you're trying to help and support and encourage. And that toxic mix is a clear indicator then that a leader needs to step back and needs to engage in some external consultation and discussion to be able to make sure that their efforts are being directed in the right way and aren't adding additional pain to an already painful and uncomfortable situation.
So kind of going along with that, what is the impact on the work environment when there is a leader that's exhibiting compassion fatigue?
Well, I think one of the things that's important to recognize is that compassion fatigue is not the only part of the story. That there is let's say the other side of the coin is what's called compassion satisfaction. The idea that when I am emotionally engaged, when I am aware of the challenges and struggles, but I'm able to be present and able to walk alongside my employees, and I'm able to direct them towards resources that we have available. For example, our employee assistance program, our behavioral health benefits, our physical benefits, other resources that an organization may bring to bear, that when I'm able to connect with them, that same satisfaction occurs when I'm attending to the emotional needs of my workforce. And so I didn't want to paint a picture as if to say there's only one side to this, and that effective leaders recognize that they want to invest in that compassion satisfaction as a way to prevent compassion fatigue. But it is true, that if a leader is unaware of it, or if it builds without their intentionality, without them being able to specifically address these issues, it ends up diminishing their effectiveness as a leader, because the employee workforce is going to look to leadership at a time like this. How are you doing? How are you handling it? What's your presentation? And when they see authenticity, when they see genuineness, when they see care, when they're not looking, to be clear, they're not looking to the leader to solve all of their personal problems. Nobody is expecting that. They just want to know that leadership gets it, that leadership understands, that leadership cares, and that they're doing everything they can to try and help. In that environment, then the workforce is willing to rise to the occasion. They're willing to pour themselves out. They're willing to do even more than expected, because they know that leadership cares and has their back. The flip side, again, if fatigue is unattended, leadership ends up becoming a focal point themselves, and people feel like leadership doesn't care. They don't understand. All they're worried about is money, and that they don't recognize the challenges that we have gone through. And that will, again, have clear implications for morale, for productivity, for presenteeism, and associated negative impacts as well. So when leaders are able to indicate that they've got it, that they are able to communicate to their employees, I know this has been difficult and we're going to get through this together. Even a message as simple as that is empowering throughout the workforce and will lead to that compassion satisfaction that I spoke to earlier.
So if a leader needs support in maintaining their adaptive capacity, what resources are generally available?
We feel at R3 Continuum that a full range of services is required because there's no one single solution for a situation as complex as COVID-19. And so we recognize that many leaders are looking to assess that well-being, to be able to better understand what is the emotional state of their key players, as well as workers who are exhibiting perhaps greater distress. And so the evaluative services are specifically targeted at being able to identify what the need is, but more than that, what the next steps in addressing that need is. Certainly, crisis response is an effective way to tangibly demonstrate that they care. For a leader to be able to say, listen, we are providing supportive opportunities, both through a video enhanced means and through having trained behavioral health counselors come on site to support the workforce as they are returning to operations, is a clear way of saying we understand it, we get it, and we're providing tangible resources to help you through this. The executive optimization is a targeted, focused, consultative approach that helps leaders be able to understand that compassion fatigue potentially for themselves and how to re-engage with that compassion satisfaction. Being able to recognize that being an emotionally intelligent executive is a strength, particularly at a time of unique challenge such as we're facing. And so executive optimization works uniquely well for that. And protective services, of course, is providing that safety and security that all employees are asking about and wanting to make sure are there before they return to the work environment. And so each business may present with different needs at different times. And our goal is to provide a range of tools to help you address that situation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing everything with me today. We are now know what compassion fatigue is, how it can be identified, and solutions for how leaders can identify and work through it. To obtain more information on how you can maintain adaptive capacity or to view additional episodes of this series, visit r3c.com/adaptive capacity. Next week, our next episode of Maintaining Adaptive Capacity, we will be discussing cumulative fatigue. Be sure to stop back to our LinkedIn page and check it out. If you are in need of any support during these challenging times, R3 Continuum can help. Connect with us. Thank you for watching.